looking at 2017 paper, 2017 paper 2. This was the internal. The internal paper, and we are going to be answering question number 1B. Question 1B. And question 1B reads as follows. A survey carried out at Kamulima farming block showed that 44 farmers planted maize, 32 planted sweet potatoes, 37 planted cassava, 14 planted both maize and sweet potato, 24 planted both sweet potatoes and cassava, 20 planted both maize and cassava, 9 planted all the 3 crops, and 6 did not plant any of these crops. Question number 1 says, illustrate this information on a Venn diagram. Illustrate this information on a Venn diagram. So without losing much of our time, we'll straight away go and illustrate the information on a Venn diagram. So this is how we go about it. This is how we go about it. We are going to draw, we tell them that, okay, this is question 1B and the first part. So we are answering the question. We're going to draw our 3 circles there. Alright, so we're going to make sure that we have our circles in a rectangle. You make sure that you have drawn this neatly to make it easy for the examiners to see and to be able to mark you. So just make sure that's neat and it is clearly visible for all to see. So there we have it. Having done that, now we are going to label the sets that we have been given. So this is the universal set represented by a capital E there. Then we have our maize. And then we have our cassava. And then we have our sweet potatoes. Then we have our sweet potatoes. Okay, so having drawn our diagram in that way, now we are going to fill in the values inside our Venn diagram. We need to know what we're supposed to have under the maize set, the cassava set, and the sweet potato set. So we have been told that the survey was carried out at this farm block and 44 farmers in total had planted maize, which means that whatsoever we are going to have in all the sets, it should give us a total of 44 farmers. No, it's not 44 farmers. Yeah. Mistake 9. Alright, so a survey was carried out at Kamulima farming block, and it shows that 44 farmers planted maize, 32 planted sweet potatoes, 37 planted cassava, 14 planted both maize and sweet potatoes, 24 planted both sweet potatoes and cassava, 20 planted both maize and cassava, 9 planted all the 3. So we have been told that 9 planted all the 3, which means that 9 is the intersection for all the crops which were planted. So it goes 9 is written on the intersection for all the 3 sets that we have. Without wasting much of our time, we've been told also that 6 did not plant any crops. So you can put your 6 anywhere outside all the 3 sets, but within the universal set. So we have our 6 indicated in that way. So let's now begin to fill in or figure out the values to put in the intersections between different crops which had intersexes. Alright, so now we are going to start dealing with the intersections between 2 crops. So we'll start with the intersection for maize and cassava there. So that's the intersection for maize and cassava, all of it. And we are taught that the intersection for maize and cassava was 20. The total number of people that planted maize and cassava were 20. The total number of people that planted maize and cassava were 20. So this 20 represents you starting from here all the way there up to there, which means this 9 is already included in the 20. So for us to find the value which we're going to put here, we subtract 20, take away 9, and you have your 11. That is what you remain with, so that when you add 11 plus 9, it takes you back to the 20 that was there before. Okay, apart from having filled in that, we have been told that 24 planted both sweet potato and cassava. Both sweet potato and cassava. So we are looking at this value now, this intersection. So this intersection is talking about the people. Okay, I'll just highlight that again. So this intersection is talking about the people that had planted both cassava and sweet potatoes. And with what we have, what we are able to get, we have 24, so 24 take away 9, we get 15. So we have our 15 in there. Put our 15 in there. And then we now move on to finding out the intersection for maize and sweet potato. According to the question, we've been told that 14 planted both maize and sweet potato. So there we do 14 take away 9 and we get our answer being 5 in that way. So our answer is 5 in that way. So that's it. That's what we get on the intersections. So now we are going to try to harmonize to find the total of people who planted maize, the cassava, and the sweet potato there. So we are told that 44 farmers planted maize. We have been told that 44 farmers planted maize. 44 farmers, we have been told that 44 farmers planted maize. So which means that the entire set from here, this whole maize set, when you add everything together, it should give you 24. Pardon me, it should give you 44. So for us to find the correct value for that, we're going to add everything and subtract from 44. So we have 11 plus 9 plus 5, it gives us 25. So what we do is 44 take away 25 and we get 19. So 19 is what we put there. And then we were told again in the question that 32 planted sweet potatoes, which means that if you add everything in the set for sweet potato, the answer that you get must be 32. The answer that you get must be 32. So what we're going to do, we'll add everything that is in the sweet potato set. We have 5 plus 9 plus 15. It gives us 29. So when you say 32 take away 29, it gives us 3. 32 take away 29, it gives us 3. So this indicates to us, okay, that's what we have there. And lastly, the question told us that 37 planted cassava, meaning if you add everything that is in the set for cassava there, the total that you must get is 37. So we already have 11, we already have 9, we already have 15. So we're going to add our 11 plus the 9 plus the 15, it gives us 35. So 37 take away 35, it gives us 2. If you have done that, if you have answered like this, you would have gotten all the 2 marks which were given for the first part of this question. So that's how many farmers were at this farm block. So that's what, okay, so question, the part 2A asks us to find how many farmers were at this farm block. So for us to find the answer, we add all the values that we have in our Venn diagram. That will give us the accurate answer. So we have 6 plus 11 plus 2. We can actually be doing that. So we have our 6 plus 19.
Just go. Film video. Let's go. So my number.
Okay, so now we'll go to our part 2B of the question. So part 2B says how many farmers were at this farm block. So we're going to add all the values that are in our Venn diagram. So we have 6 plus 19 plus 11 plus 2 plus 5 plus 9 plus 15 plus 3. So we add that, and the total that we get must be the answer that we are looking for. So when you punch in that in your calculator, the answer that you get is what we are looking for. And at this particular time, after adding everything, the total that we get is 70. The total that we get is 70. So we're looking at 70 farmers. So 70 farmers were at this farm block. Let's go to 2B. Question 2B said, how many farmers planted maize only? So how many farmers planted maize only is that number right there. So you just pick it and say 19 farmers. Question part 2C. The question was how many farmers planted 2 different crops. So for that, we are going to add now this intersection. There is maize and cassava. The intersection there is 11 plus, we go to the intersection for cassava and sweet potato. We have 15 there, so we add 15. And then lastly, we go to maize and sweet potato. and the intersection right there is a 5, so you do plus 5. So when you add those 3 digits, the answer that you get is okay, we have 11 plus 15 plus 5, and you get your answer being what? 20, 31. Okay. Part 2C of this question says how many farmers planted 2 different types of crops. It is confusing. So when you add these 3 numbers, 11 plus 15 plus 5, it gives you the total being 31 farmers. 31 farmers as our answer. If you do that, you would have answered the question correctly and you would have acquired all the crops that were required. Thank you for following through up to this far. Just stay along, just stay tuned, even as we now move on to answering 2017 mathematics paper for GCE. We are now going to 2017 mathematics paper for GCE. Okay, now we are dealing with Mathematics 2017 Paper 2 GCE, question 3b. And the question reads, and I'm now reading the question. The Venn diagram below shows tourist attractions visited by certain students in a certain week. There is the Venn diagram. We have the Victoria Falls, Mabilima Falls, and Gonia Falls. Question 3b, part 1. Find the value of y if 7 students visited Mabilima Falls only. So Mabilima Falls only, there are just that part, not the entire, but they've said Mabilima Falls only, so we only focus on this part. This is the Mabilima Falls only. If you touch there, that's Mabilima and Victoria Falls. If you touch there, that is for all the 3 sides, and if you touch there, that's Mabilima Falls and Gonia Falls. So if it's Mabilima Falls only, it is represented by that there. So what we do is 2y plus 1 is equal to 7. That's the total that they've given us. Therefore, we group the like terms. 2y is equal to 7 minus 1. 2y is equal to 6 over 2 over 2y. Y is equal to 3. That's the value of y. We go to part 2 of question 3b. Okay. And the question is, how many students visited Victoria Falls but not Gonia Falls? How many students visited Victoria Falls but not Gonia Falls? How many students visited Victoria Falls but not Gonya Falls? So we are looking at the students that visited the Victoria Falls but not Gonya Falls. So we won't include 4 and 10 there because they were also at Gonya Falls. However, we won't even include Mambilima Falls. We'll only consider Victoria Falls in that way. So we are considering 6 plus 2, then we're talking about 8 students. B. How many students visited 2 tourist attractions only? How many students visited 2 tourist attractions only? So we're looking at the intersections for 2, so we have 4 there as the intersection for Victoria Falls and Gonya Falls. We have a 2 as the intersection for Victoria Falls and Mambilima, and we have 1 as the intersection for Mambilima Falls and Gonya Falls. So we add them, 4 plus 2 plus 1, and we get our answer being 7 students. Part C. Part C says, how many students visited 1 tourist attraction only? How many students visited 1 tourist attraction only? So for that we consider that, and that. So we are putting our 6 plus our 7, because the total of that is 7. We have 2 times 3, 6 plus 1, 7, and plus our 8 there. So 6 plus 7, 13, 13 plus 8, we are talking about 21 students. Alright, that's it.
Yeah.